Hi everybody, it's me, Jill. Welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of the Real Housewives of New York City, Season 10, Episode 20, Reunion Part 1. Before we begin, at the end of this recap, I will be answering a viewer's question or comment. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to stick around. So these reunions have been a little bit different lately, where we're seeing more of the behind the scenes stuff. I'm not sure if they're trying to make it more reality-like or what the deal is. We start off by seeing them come one by one and greet Andy. They look great. I think I love all of their dresses. I'm not sure who I think has the best look. Why don't we do a little poll? Click on the little eye up in the corner and answer the poll question. It'll be interesting to see who you guys think is the best dressed for the reunion. I've always liked how their outfits have sort of a theme, either in color or style or both. These dresses I think are very elegant in sort of the metals, gold, and looks like Carol's in like a pewter. Okay, so first off, notice how everybody is seated, because it's not going to stay like that. Ramona says, "Excuse me, cameraman? This is showing up on camera? I have a really bad bruise. Can't we switch couches?" Next thing you know, cameraman's like, "Okay, we're switching couches. So everybody up, switch places." Ramona, of course, "Can someone bring my purse and my water over here for me?" Yeah, because why would we think you could carry your stuff? We're doing all this because of you, Ramona. I love her so much, though. But what happened? Why does she have, and you can see it, she's got a big old bruise on her face. And that's with makeup. I can't even imagine how bad it looks. I can only assume that the inevitable happened and somebody had enough and took a swing at her. Okay, so now everyone is seated and Andy gives his formal hellos to everybody. He says hello to Bethany first and then Carol, then Sonia, who I guess he asks her about her dress. He tells us it's Sonia by Sonia Morgan, $149 off the rack. All right. Then we go to Dorinda, who I love her with the longer hair. I don't know about you guys, but I think that looks really pretty. Then Ramona, and finally Tinsley. He talks about Tinsley's hair as well. I think Tinsley's hair looks great. Before this sort of chicer, shorter look during the season, I gotta tell you, I was getting a little bit of a Gretchen Rossi vibe from Tinsley's hair, and not in a good way. All right, then Andy announces to us that Luann can't be there, and it is their understanding that she is going for treatment. And then you hear ding. Andy looks so annoyed. He glances over at Carol and she's like, oh, sorry. I thought I turned it off. Okay, was that not exactly the Melissa Gorga thing that happened? I mean, not exactly, because it was somebody who was calling, right? And then Andy got on the phone and said, "We're filming the reunion right now." Who the heck was it? Oh my gosh, I think it was Ramona. Oh God, of course it was. Anyway, I'm kind of questioning Andy Cohen's behavior a little bit. Now, I'll get to that in a minute, but this little exchange with Carol, where he seems pretty annoyed with her, is maybe only the tip of the iceberg. We start off with some softball questions, you know. We hear about Bethany's new apartment, how much she loves it, and she and Brynn are thriving there. We talk about Dorinda, how great she looks, and we find out that she's working with a trainer 4 days a week. Stuff like that. Then we talk about Dorinda's Halloween party. And of course, Luann's costume. She was dressed as Diana Ross, but had an afro, which is not like Diana Ross's hair at all, and the fact that she looked like she was in blackface. Luann is just tone deaf and how it was racially insensitive, and you think? It was ridiculous, if you guys remember it. Oh, and then Andy asked Dorinda if Lady Gaga liked her costume or something, and she said no, but her mom did. Her mom, Cynthia. Apparently, Dorinda goes to the same church as Lady Gaga's mom. But like I said, it's all these pretty softball questions. And then we go to our first commercial break. And when we come back, the gloves are off because we are getting into it. First, we see a montage of all the nasty stuff anybody has ever said to each other. Then Andy starts with Bethany asking her questions about her reconnecting with Jill Zarin at Bobby's funeral. And he said something like, that was a big surprise. And Bethany said, yeah, it was a surprise to me too. And Ramona kind of whispers opportunistic to her friends across the aisle there, because the other couch and Ramona are kind of on one side, and Bethany and Sonia and Luann, who's not there, are on the other side. I'm sure if Luann had been at the reunion, she would have been on the couch with Bethany and Sonia, and the other four would have been on the other couch, but Ramona had to suck it up and go into enemy territory. So as Bethany is saying how, wonderful it was seeing Jill again and that she just had these feelings, she wanted to talk to her, Ramona goes, I'm gonna jump in here for a minute because I just thought it was really bizarre that you talked to the production crew and had them come to the funeral. Andy Cohen jumps right in and says, actually, we were invited there by Jill, and we wanted to cover the funeral, so we were very happy that happened. Okay. Dorinda's like, I just wanted to avoid the cameras at all costs. At a funeral, I think that's morbid. And then Ramona says something, I don't know if she's talking about Jill or Bethany. I think she was talking about Jill. She said at one point she was in a car and then she saw the cameras and she jumped out of the car because the cameras were rolling. And again, Andy Cohen jumps in. Good. I'm glad she did that because we wanted to film it. I don't ever remember Andy Cohen getting this involved in the conversation. Really what I mean is so obviously and openly seeming to take one side over the other. He clearly is defending Bethany. It's bothering me a little bit because I liked that he used to be like the outsider, just enjoying the craziness of all the women. And now it seems like he's there to defend his friend Bethany. He hasn't exactly crossed a line yet, but I feel like he's teetering on the edge of it being kind of inappropriate. Now we have a little flashback to when Ramona was trying to get Jill and Bethany to make up and be friends again. And oh my gosh, they looked so young. I think it was 2010. Anyway, after that, Bethany said, well, you know what? It doesn't matter what you think, Ramona. Jill's happy. That's all that matters. Jill is so happy. And Dorinda pipes up, oh, she's so happy. We see her all the time. Have you had lunch with her since? And Bethany said, no, I haven't because I didn't want to. What kind of an answer is that? I thought the whole point was that you guys are becoming friends again, and Jill is so happy. Dorinda's response is, oh, I see, because you didn't want to. I guess because the cameras weren't rolling. Carol's like, that sounds about right. So Andy does say to Bethany, have you spoken to Jill since sitting Shiva with her? She said, not verbally, but we've texted back and forth, and listen, we have some mending to do and she's making an effort and, I'm kind of just dipping my toe in the water a little bit. Ramona says, yeah, I made up with her too. We were in a big fight, but when I heard that Bobby was so ill, I went to the hospital and we had a good talk. We really made up. And then Andy said, I got a call today from Jill Zarin and she told me that she's dating someone now who used to date Ramona. And Ramona's like, yeah, it's true. I went on about 4 dates with him. What is it with these ladies? New York City has about 8 million people. Yet you ladies have to date each other's rejects? What am I missing? Part 1 of this reunion is very Bethany-centric. I don't know, maybe the whole thing is going to be. But now we're talking about Puerto Rico and her efforts to help out there and how did that all get started. And then she said, and you know what, everybody here helped out. She said I think she was saying how she first got started and then needing money, and she said the first really big donor was Tinsley. And then she said, and then really, honestly, everybody here donated and everybody supported it. And whether you like me or hate me, you did it anyway. I appreciate it. I just want you to know I appreciate it. Well, her saying whether you like me or hated me, you still did it, that just set off Carol and Dorinda. Carol's like, nobody hated you, Bethany. And Dorinda said, yeah, it was bigger than that. We knew that what you were doing was bigger than all that. And we wanted to help. We wanted to support. I felt like maybe they were somehow offended, thinking that Bethany was praising them for donating even though they didn't like her. Like maybe she thought they would be petty and she was surprised that they weren't being petty. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, Dorinda mentioning, and we all supported you, got Ramona all riled up because then she said, and you don't support anybody else. We all support you and you don't support us. You're very negative, Bethany. To each one of us on Twitter or whatever, she's said nasty things to each one of them, according to Ramona. And Bethany's like, can I respond? Think about the Brooklyn Bridge. And right away, Carol goes, oh my God, 10 years ago. But there were other things too. And Bravo let us know all the times that Ramona had been nasty to Bethany. Of course she has. It's Ramona. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to prove or if there's some big conspiracy where Bravo and Andy are so team Bethany here. But of course it's true. Ramona is awful. She's an awful human being. That somehow morphs into Nutcracker Gate. And yeah, we're talking about that again. So all the ladies were just making a point of how Bethany was just over the top. I did it, and I made this happen. This is the best gift ever. And I guess she was kind of praising herself. I didn't get that. At the time it aired, I thought that she was thanking the guy that brought it, that actually did the work to get it. That was the connection that Dorinda had. I didn't realize that, I guess Bethany was maybe taking credit for my kid wanted this thing and I moved heaven and earth to make it happen, kind of a thing. But that seems to be what everybody else thought. And Bethany said, that's not true. That's not true. Bethany had one story, the others had another. They're calling each other liars. Bethany said, I have all the texts where I thanked Dorinda, and I even showed her a little video of Bryn seeing the Nutcracker for the first time. And Dorinda said, I'm sure you did. Off camera. So yeah, Dorinda's got a whole thing about what Bethany does on camera and what she does off camera. That seems to be Dorinda's gripe about Bethany. To me, it seems more genuine that she thanked her off camera because that's a real thank you. This might have more to do with the other ladies thinking that Bethany gets a better edit in general, which might be true. All the ladies get so riled up, and then even Carol said, but the big performance on camera when the guy came to deliver the Nutcracker, and I think they're implying that she even knew it was coming and all that kind of thing, like it was a performance. Bethany's trying to tell her side of it, but they're so passionate and yelling and all this cross-talking. And Andy screams over at Carol and Dorinda to shut the F up. I want to hear what she has to say. Okay. I know it's early yet. This is probably going to be a 3-part reunion. I think the season warrants that. But so far, Andy, I think you should stay out of things a little bit more. It really seems to me like Bethany's your buddy. He definitely has her back. And I'm also kind of wondering, this just occurred to me right now, I wonder if he's mad at Carol for quitting. Do you think? Maybe he's being a little passive aggressive with her because she left the show? Possibly. Okay, now we have a viewer question for Bethany, asking her why she doesn't support Ramona with her skincare line, and even criticizing her for, like making it all about her skincare line, when Bethany is clearly all about Skinny Girl and branding Skinny Girl every single second of the day, every time she has a scene. So according to Bethany, she said, well, it's because since we started this show, she's had True Renewal and True Faith and this and that and a restaurant, and none of these things ever pan out. I guess this new Ageless by Ramona, according to Bethany, isn't even in production yet. She can't find anybody to make it, and I don't know. And then she says, and Ramona, you're always criticizing Sonia for having fake businesses. Oh, Bethany. I don't even know how Bethany had the balls to go there. Nobody let her get away with it. Ramona's like, are you kidding me? That's you. You criticize Sonia. Sonia is, this whole time so far, Sonia has one job, and that is to be Bethany's supporter and defender. To Bravo's credit, they do give us a flashback to 2016, the scene where Bethany is giving Sonia the beatdown of a lifetime about her cheater brand. And I was thinking to myself, if they don't show that scene, then it is clear that they are just openly gonna support Bethany. But they did, they showed it. Then, I don't know, there's a bunch of crosstalk, really cross yelling, and I can't really make out heads or tails of what's being said. Ramona stands up and it's another, really, Bethany? Really? Really, Bethany? You don't support women. Why can't you support me? And I'm thinking, why do you want her to support you? Why do you even care? This is what I'm not sure I have a handle on. Just how powerful is Bethany Frankel? I know she has an empire. She has incredible wealth, and I guess with that comes power. I'm not sure. Does she have power over Andy, or are they really just friends, or am I imagining all this? Then does that answer the question of why Sonia is just willing to erase all the horrible things that Bethany has said to her and about her in the past? Is Sonia brilliant? Does Sonia know that she will benefit from her friendship with Bethany? Maybe. Maybe even Ramona knows that. Maybe that's why Ramona wishes that Bethany supported her, because being on Bethany's good side is maybe good for your brand and good for your business. I'm really just kind of trying to sort it all out myself, because my gut reaction is, if she doesn't like me, fine. I don't care. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys that in Ramona's angry tirade, she yells, and you call me fake, you sit there with your fake tits? Which kind of came out of nowhere. Bethany's like, and what are Ramona's? And Ramona goes, no, well, I did mine when I was 55. You did yours when you were 30. And everyone, even the other couch is like, who cares? Andy looks confused. Nobody was following that train of thought. So Andy does ask Bethany, why didn't you congratulate her on her new line? Carol kind of tries to butt in, and Bethany's like, can I just talk to her? I think we're fine. We got this. If we need your help, we'll call you. There's a ton of animosity between Bethany and Carol. Bethany just says to Ramona, listen, if you would have just said, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings. She said, I might have apologized. And anyway, so that kind of ends. Next, we get a Dorinda montage. This is all about labeling. When they were in Puerto Rico and Bethany called her a drunk, and then there was a big discussion of, well, did you call me a drunk, or did you say I was drunk, or I don't know, something. So there's a whole big thing about that. But Bethany surprisingly really backs off of that, because Andy's kind of trying to press her. Well, do you think she's a drunk? And Bethany's like, well, I mean, what's a drunk? Andy's like, well, do you think she has a drinking problem? And Bethany said, I'm not qualified to say. You're not qualified now, but you definitely were qualified to say it before, because you called her a drunk. We all saw that. Oh, when Andy did ask her, well, do you think she's a drunk? Before Bethany answered, Dorinda goes, you don't know my life that well, so be careful, Bethany. Be careful what you say. And Bethany said the weirdest thing, and you guys have to comment if you know what she's talking about. She said, listen, believe me, I've been through one intervention this weekend. I'm not looking for another. Dorinda's reaction to that is, oh, here we go. What is she talking about? What intervention had she been through that weekend? Are they talking about Luann? I don't think she's talking about Dennis, right? Let's just say she was talking about Dennis. I don't think she would have brought it up on camera, number one. And number two, Dorinda wouldn't have acted like that. Oh, here we go. If it was about Dennis, because that has nothing to do with Dorinda. So I am kind of wondering if it was Luann. Because if you think about the timing of filming the reunion coincided with Luann checking into rehab. So I wonder. Anyway, back to Bethany saying, I'm not qualified to say. There was talking about labeling people, and Dorinda said, you label everybody here. You know, and she's going through what things that Bethany has said about every single person. And Bethany is saying, I was just trying to, help her. And Carol goes, it's not constructive to call somebody a drunk on national television. Either she's quick or Bethany was holding on to this, just waiting for Carol to say something, because immediately Bethany said, and it's not constructive to call somebody a narcissist several times on national television either. But that didn't stop you from calling me one, did it, Carol? And Carol's like, did I call you that? I don't remember that. And she said, yes, several times. So Carol goes, well, I call it like I see it. And Bethany goes, so do I. And they're like, okay, well, we agree on that. I don't know. And that is the end of part 1 of the reunion. Okay, you guys, it's time to answer viewer questions. And I could not decide because your questions and comments are getting better and better. So I'm picking a few, and I'm going to try not to ramble on so much with my answer. The first one I chose is not a question, it's just a comment. This comment comes from It's Latasha. Hi, Latasha. I picked your comment because it's something I've been thinking about for so long now. So here's what you say. I'm still shocked that Jason Hoppy is this way. He seemed so likable and I loved him for Bethany. Poor B, I almost feel sorry for her. For so long now, I have been saying the exact same thing to myself. I don't know if you guys watched Bethany Ever After, but I loved their love story. I loved it. They got married and they had Bryn. He was cute and he was just so sweet and kind and normal and level-headed. And I thought he is perfect for her because she's neurotic and crazy. And he sort of kept her tethered to the ground, I loved him. And I cannot tell you how many times my daughter and I would be like, oh my God, how did she get him? Or I cannot believe he puts up with her crazy and all that kind of stuff. He was so great. So this custody stuff, this horrible divorce is shocking to me. And before you say anything, I realize we are only hearing Bethany's side of the story. However, there are facts that are out there too. So because of that, I believe there's at least some truth to it. But if Jason Hoppy would ever go on TV and do an interview and tell his side of the story, I would watch the hell out of that. So hard. I would love to hear what he has to say. I would just eat it up. So thanks for bringing it up, Latasha, because that's been on my mind for a long time. This next question I thought was really interesting. This comes from Joe McKenzie. Hi, Joe. And she asks, do you think the Countess is a persona or who Luann really is? And then she says, I can picture her on the playground, age 12, picking teams and announcing instructions to the other children. Yeah. She really reigns like a queen. I almost wish I had that amount of self-esteem, but her lack of self-awareness makes me worry for her and her addiction. Okay, good question and very insightful and thought out. Do I think it's a persona? A little bit. Yes, I think before she married the Count, or maybe the reason she married the Count is because she has a healthy sense of self, let's put it that way. Being a countess, well, yeah, isn't that just what I deserve, ladies? So yeah, I don't for a second think she was just a shy little girl from Connecticut who fell in love and married a count, and no. She was born a countess or queen. The comment you make about her lack of self-awareness and relating that to her addiction, that's a good point. I don't know enough about addictive personalities to know if having sort of a lack of self-awareness kind of ties in, or do those two things always go hand in hand? I don't know, but I can definitely imagine that it would not help. So yeah, thank you, Joe, for that question. And finally, I don't know why, I guess because I'm a masochist, I am going to answer Lucy Marinen's question. Hi, Lucy. I don't even know if I want to thank you for this question. Lucy says, here's a yucky thought. Who would you rather date if you had to? John Pedestrian or Brooks of the OC? Lucy said she would go with John, but she says, now I feel sick. I hear ya. Okay. Now, I don't know what you mean by date, but if it's like one night, if I had to for one night be with one of them, I think I would pick Brooks. And that is only because I feel like if John Pedestrian came toward me with those big fishy lips, I would lose it. I would just immediately vomit. I don't think I could get through it. Now, if we're talking about dating more like long term, I know this doesn't make any sense, but I couldn't stand Brooks for long term. Like I could barely get through one night with him. If it was like longer dating period of time, John Pedestrian, oh God, only because he like has a legitimate job. That's it. That is it. Oh God. And now I am going to go try and wash that thought out of my brain. Thanks, Lucy. All right. Thank you guys so much. Keep the questions and comments coming. Keep being funny. I am laughing all the way through your comments. As always, if you haven't yet subscribed to Jill Informed, please do so. And if you liked this video, please take the time to give it a thumbs up. If you want notifications every time Jill Informed has a new video, then go ahead and click on that bell. I hope to see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of The Real Housewives of New York City. Bye-bye.